Hello, people. Right, we've got the US Open draw. It's out. This is the reaction, well, my reaction to the US Open draw. We're going to go through the men's. I will be doing a separate video for the women's. I'll be going over the draw and also give some of my predictions in terms of the tournament, etc. Because I know I haven't done that extensively. Apologies. I will be doing that one-on-one video, and I think it'll be a good one. So do keep an eye out for that. But we're going to go over the draw, some of the big matchups that have come out of it, also my predictions for some of them as well, because I think it's going to be interesting, and some potential matchups later on in the tournament. Of course, it never always, well, I say never, but it barely ever works out that way where everyone who you think is going to win ends up going through and all the seeds meet in the semi-finals, seeds 1 to 4, but you never know. So we'll see how it goes. Right, okay, so let's go through the top half first. Of course, number 1 seed Novak Djokovic is a qualifier, so we're not 100% sure who that's going to be yet. Let's see, but I mean, it's probably the perfect draw for him, really, to get a qualifier, if I'm being honest with you. Depends who it is, but I think for the most part, he'll be quite happy with that. Grigspor versus Struff, actually saw both of those guys live in the flesh at Wimbledon. Struff, for me, has been in some pretty terrible form recently, but he has a better game and the bigger game. You would expect him to get through that. Grigspor, just for me, is a little bit underpowered. So for me, Struff comes through that to meet Djokovic in the second round. It all depends. I mean, Djokovic seems to love playing Struff, so I don't have high hopes, if I'm being honest with you, for Yana Struff, but you just never know. Caruso plays Nishikori to come through that. For me, McDonald and Goffin, that's a really good matchup. McDonald has been in really good form in the North American and just a North American hardcourt swing since Wimbledon, and he's had some very good results. So he'll be a little bit disappointed, I think, to maybe get David Goffin. Although in saying that, David Goffin hasn't been in the best of form. So I'm going to go McDonald, I think McDonald will cause the upset there. Karatsev and Munar, I think you'd hope that Karatsev will get through that. But given the... Sorry, just put my chair back up. But given the form that Karatsev's been in, you just never know. But I'm going to go McDonald and Nishikori to then meet in the second round. And in the third round, I would then probably go Nishikori Djokovic. And Djokovic is just, he's going to be too much for Nishikori. I think the styles don't match up well there because Nishikori loves playing from the baseline. And no one plays at the baseline better than Novak Djokovic in the current crop of players available anyway in this slam. And arguably he is the best around, even when everyone's fit as well, to be fair, from the back of the court as well. Karatsev and Manar. So as I said, Karatsev to come through that for me. Thompson and Maguire, I want to say. I think it's Maguire. I'm going to go Thompson, but then Karatsev to beat Thompson. I'm really just hoping we see some of the form that just catapulted Karatsev to that semi-final in Australia in the Australian Open Grand Slam. Will it happen? I don't know. I would like for it to happen. And obviously some really good results on the clay until the French Open as well. So you just never know. Brooksby versus Isner, that's going to be a really good matchup. I think that will be that could be a marathon because Isner doesn't have huge power, but he's very busy. He's got good legs, good stamina. Brooksby is a typical counterpuncher, good backhand. Again, like McDonald, has had a very good has had a very good North American hardcourt swing since Wimbledon as well. Him and McDonald, two Americans who I think the country will be looking towards to definitely develop. And obviously, I think Korda is the big dog basically of that group and crop. But these guys have some talent as well. So interesting to see how Brooksby does. I think he'll love the crowd as well. I talked to Gil about Brooksby, and he thinks that Brooksby absolutely loves the crowd and he'll soak it in. He'll really play into it. So that should help him. So I'm going to go with Brooksby actually against Isner. Home advantage. Fritz against Dimmer, that's a really good matchup as well. That's potentially a 50-50 if Fritz is fully fit and on his game. And honestly, with the home crowd as well, it's I think ADM is going to be a bit up against it. But I'm going to go ADM. I'm going to go ADM. Sorry, I think I know he lost to Gelmon Feast recently, but he hasn't played a huge amount of tennis. I'm just hoping when he comes into this, he's going to be near the top of his game. And if he is, he should win that. Then I'm saying he's going to face Brooksby. I don't know if I could go. Yeah. To be honest with you, Brooksby, Eimer, Fritz, Demona, any one of these four could make it to the third round. Like, genuinely, this is a pretty tight kind of couple of matchups for me. So I'm just going to go ADM to meet Karatsev in the third round. It'll probably be wrong, to be honest with you, but that's what I'll go with. Hakac, Gerasimov, that's a good one. Hakac, though, to come through that. I think he'll be too strong. Seppi Fucsovic, that's a good matchup as well. There's some really good ones in here, but we haven't got anywhere near the cracking ones, which we will definitely get to. Yeah, if you haven't heard, then you're in for a big, big surprise. Hakac, Gerasimov, as I said, Hakac, Seppi, Fucsovic. I'm going to go Fucsovic. So Hakac and Fucsovic in the second round. Hakac will be like, what the heck? Either one could come through that, but I'm going to go with Hakac. Kudla to come through that. Sonego to win. Sonego to beat Kudla. Sonego and Hakac in the third round for me. If Sonego plays like how he did in that first set against Tsitsipas in Cincinnati, I tell you what, Hakac will have a really tough time of it. But he doesn't. Sonego is a little bit kind of hot and cold. So, but then so is Hakac, to be fair, at times. If both are at the top of their game, I think you got to back Hakac, but I don't know who's going to come through that. I'm going to go Hakac, though. I'm just going to do the first. The reason why I'm going to do the first few rounds, I don't want to go too deep into it because it becomes a guessing game, really, doesn't it? Like, then you're just assuming that people are going to come through and you're unsure about some, and it's just like, who genuinely knows? Like, no one genuinely knows. It's just about who's in what part of the draw, and then that's it. And then we can look at it. But we are also going to look at Djokovic, Medvedev, Zverev, and Tsitsipas' roads to the final, potentially, after I've gone through the draw and first round, second round, third round kind of draws and predictions, because I think that's just better to look at separately so that people get a good gauge of what their routes would look like rather than me just kind of haphazardly going through it. Fognini Pospisil. What do I say? People say Pospisil, don't they? Isn't it Pospisil? Is how it's spelled. Either way, sorry. Fognini, I think it's come through that. Sangren, Ivashka, either way, to be honest with you. But I'll go Sangren because of home advantage, which, to be honest, in tennis hasn't always been a huge amount, to be honest with you. But there will be a crowd at the US Open. So some players, Kyrgios, will definitely love that. Fognini to beat Sangren, I'll go with. So he'll make the third round because I say so. Travaglia to beat Mute. Shardy, Berrettini, obviously. Berrettini to smash Travaglia or Mute, to be honest with you. So Berrettini in the third round for me against Fognini. And Fognini, it's all Italian affair, isn't it? But I reckon Berrettini, if he's on his game, blows Fognini away with just huge serving. Zverev against Quirrey. Now, it's interesting, right? Because Sam Querrey has not been in fantastic form for quite some time. He's not been in the type of form that's seen him make deep runs in Grand Slams. So it's a pretty tough one to say that this is a big, big, upset kind of waiting to happen. But in saying that, if Querrey is serving hot, which could happen, he could just turn it on. Zverev is a very good returner. And a lot of my subscribers have been saying that, look, we need to talk about it more. So I will talk about it now. He has been a phenomenal returner in the last few months, even better than he normally is. It's definitely up there, to be honest with you, as possibly the best returner at the moment in terms of form-wise. But if Querrey does really manage to go and turn it on that first serve, it will still be tough for him. But I just think Zverev is going to have too much. As long as he doesn't get the yips and just do something crazy, we don't know 100% whether he's got over that mental side of things, which, Gil, when I was talking to him in the preview, mentioned, I think is a very good point to make. Then, there's still question marks, but we'll only know, right, by watching. So I reckon he'll get through that. Ramos Fernandez against Pui. I'm going to go Pui. Zverev to then smash Pui. I'm going to sorry Pui, but I'm just saying how I see it. Nishioka Sock. I don't know. I'm going to go Jack Sock home advantage. I keep on doing that, but now you know what? I'm going to go Nishioka. I'm going to go Nishioka. Bublik to beat Hanfman. Bublik then to beat Nishioka though. Bublik Zverev. Zverev should beat Bublik in that third round. Monfils versus Korea. Monfils has been in some good form, by the way, and he looks a lot less erratic than he did previously in some of the other tournaments earlier in the year, which is good because he's such a phenomenally exciting player to watch. A lot of superlatives there. Monfils though to beat Korea, and then Johnson against qualifier. Let's just go with Johnson. Monfils though I think will be either. So Monfils then, I mean, it depends. I say that the qualifier could be a terrible matchup for Monfils, but I'm going to go Monfils in the third round. Then we've got Cecchinato against Zverev. Cecchinato to go through that. Sinner to beat Purcell. Purcell obviously beat FA in the first round of the Olympics after Murray pulled out through to injury. Came in, beat FA, really good win, but hasn't done much since and isn't really expected to do much, to be fair. So I think Sinner will beat Purcell. Then Sinner will also beat Cecchinato. And then Sinner will play Monfils in the third round. Oh my gosh. Number 13 against number 17 seed in the third round. That will be an absolute cracker. France against Italy. Monfils versus Sinner. Old against young. That's just got everything, man. That will be a cracker. I really hope that happens. And I'm not going to guess who's going to win that. PC, well, just because I just think I like both players and I genuinely love Monfils. I have for so long, but I'm really starting to kind of fall in love with their Sinner's game as well, if I'm being honest with you. Just really both have very attractive play styles, if I'm being honest with you, and it's great to see. PCB, man, I mean, he's been in fantastic form, hasn't he? A bronze medalist, he'll play a qualifier. Oh my gosh, what have they done with the draw here? Oh, this is carnage. Korda versus Basilashvili in the first round. That's horrible for Korda. But I think Korda will come through. Pressure could get to him, though. They expect him to go quite big, I think. You know that. I think they expect him to make like maybe potentially the second week, the American fans. Hopefully he handles it. Korda then PCB. Mate, that is a shocker for both. In the second round, Korda has the ability to beat PCB, no doubt. But the tennis that PCB's been playing, I just think PCB is going to beat him. I just think he's going to be too solid. He's hitting the ball too cleanly. From the back of the court, he just looks so good. The in-to-in forehand has been incredible. I want to go PCB. Musetti, Nava Musetti, I'm going to take him to go through, but you just don't know Musetti. I don't know how amazing he's going to be on the hard course, if I'm being honest with you. But I'd like to find out, and I hope that he does get through, because most likely he's going to face Opelka in the second round. That's a real test, but let's be honest, Opelka's probably going to blow through Kwon and Musetti or Nava. He'll make the third round. Then Opelka, Karena, Buster, or Opelka, Korda. We could have an All-American affair, or we could have Opelka versus PCB. Mate, we're going to have some cracking matchups in this part of the draw. Flip. Woo. Oh, man. Khachanov versus Lloyd Harris. That's a really good matchup as well, but I expect Khachanov to come through. Cuevas, Escobida. Cuevas to come through. Khachanov to beat Cuevas. And then Carbeas Bayana versus Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul to come through that, but then Shapovalov to beat Delbonis and Tommy Paul. Shapovalov to play Khachanov in a replay of the Wimbledon quarterfinals, which I actually was there to watch as well. I'm just going to keep on boasting about it because it was such a good match. 5-setter. Shapovalov beat Khachanov. Really good match, and I think it'll be the same here. I think that Shapovalov will beat Khachanov in the third round. Right, should we go through the bottom half of the draw? Then we're going to do the roads to the final because I don't want to. I'm just conscious of time. I don't want to go through this forever. Rublev qualifier, Rublev to win. Duckworth, Martinez, Duckworth for me. Rublev to then play Duckworth. Rublev should come through that. So he makes the third round for me. TFO versus qualifier. That's a good draw for TFO, isn't it? TFO then to play, I think Krajinovic will beat Peja. So TFO, Krajinovic. I'm going to say TFO is going to beat Krajinovic. I think he's been in really good form. I've been quite impressed with some of his matches, TFO. For him, it's more the stamina. Can he really, similar to Kyrgios, can he keep up physically with the rest of the pack as the tournament goes on? Rublev played TFO, though I think Rublev's going to come through that, if I'm being honest with you. And then we come into an absolutely cracking first round. RBA versus Nick Kyrgios. Now, if this was on grass, I have to say to you, if this was on grass, this would be one of the best grass court matchups you could ever have in the first round at Wimbledon. Because RBA loves the grass and Kyrgios absolutely loves the grass as well. And they both play phenomenally well on the grass. But when it comes to hard courts, I have to be honest with you, I think Kyrgios actually does play quite a bit better than RBA on the hard courts. I feel like RBA isn't... He's got a solid enough game to do pretty well on the hard courts, but I don't think he is as comfortable on here. I don't think he's as confident on here. Logically, right, you'd go with RBA because he's played more tennis and obviously looks after himself more and, et cetera, and he's just had better form and whatever else. But for me, it's Kyrgios all day. With a crowd, in a Grand Slam, I think he's gonna do it. It might be 4, it might be 5 sets, but I think he'll get through it in the end. Then Kyrgios versus Ruusuvuori for me. And if Kyrgios comes through that first round unscathed and he's not injured, I think he wins that as well. Feliciano Lopez against qualifier. And then Feliciano Lopez for me, but then FA should beat the qualifier, and then he's got to play Feliciano Lopez. This is a really easy draw for FA in the first couple of rounds, by the way. FA should just breeze through the first 2 rounds. Then he potentially has to face either RBO or Nick Kyrgios. I think it's going to be Nick Kyrgios. That will be a replay of the, I want to say, the 3rd round or the round of 16 at Wimbledon, where Nick Kyrgios, it was 1 set all, if I'm not mistaken, and then Kyrgios got injured. And I think Kyrgios would have actually won that match if he wasn't injured, to be honest with you, against FA, but given the form that both are in. This will be a closer one, I think, because FA is a lot more comfortable on the hard courts. He's been in some good form. And Nick Kyrgios prefers the faster grass courts, and he won't enjoy it here at the US Open as much because they're realistically and factually, they are a lot slower than some of the other hard courts like Australia, for example. I'd like to say Nick Kyrgios because I do like him, but I also like FA. I like, to be honest, anyone that plays good tennis I like, and there's not many players that play bad tennis, if I'll be honest with you. So I think FA... No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say, as long as Nick Kyrgios doesn't play between 8 to 10 sets in his first 2 rounds, I think he'll be FA. But if he does play more than 8 sets, so if he plays more than 8 sets in total in his first 2 rounds, I think FA beats him. Because I just think it'll catch up to him. He's just not fit enough, stamina-wise, to survive for that long, personally. Garin Gombos, Garin for me. Millman's come through that. Millman against Garin. I'm going to go Millman. Why not? Benoit Paire versus Lejovic. Benoit Paire's been in really good form, so I'm going to go Benoit Paire. Then Umber to beat the qualifier. So an all-French affair. And this could go either way because Benoit Paire has been in some really good form. He's hit a bit of a rich vein of form. Obviously, a very controversial and divisive character, but his skill and ability is unquestionable. Can he beat Umber, who is the talented youngster coming through? My first thoughts are no. I think Umber will be too solid if he plays how we know he has been playing. Umber then against Garin, I think Umber has a good chance to make the 4th round. Umber versus Millman for me, actually, in the 3rd. And I think Umber has a very good chance to make the 4th round. That's a pretty easy draw, if I'm being honest with you, for Umber. Good chance for him to make a good run. Cam Norrie will be kicking himself because Alcaraz is not an easy matchup. Alcaraz, yes, is not seen as a very huge threat on the hard courts, but it's slow, like Roland Garros. Yes, it's the different surface, but the way it plays is similar. I think that could be a very tight affair. I'm going to back Cam Norrie, but I wouldn't be surprised if Alcaraz comes through that. against Rinderknecht. I think, oh my God, I'm butchering his name, sorry. Let's do this again. K Manovic against Norrie, and then Norrie's come through that. Aber against Manarino. I'm going to go Aber. Murray, Tsitsipas, flipping heck. These are the type of matchups where I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, how has this happened? And it's just because Murray is unseeded. And this is like the worst possible draw that Murray could ask for. The only worst draw the only worst draw he could get is if he drew Djokovic or Medvedev, or Zverev maybe. But this is just like a nightmare. He's thinking, I could have drawn anyone, and I've drawn Tsitsipas. He might take a set off Tsitsipas, but I can't see him beating Stefanos Tsitsipas. Yes, we talked about some of the areas where Tsitsipas can improve, but this is at the elite level. We're talking about Grand Slam winning tweaks to his game that can be made to help him become a Grand Slam or multi-Grand Slam champion. But he is playing at a level right now where I think he just beats Murray, and he probably beats him quite comfortably, unfortunately. Unless Murray can play more aggressively than maybe he has been playing, and it manages to click, then maybe. I don't think he's got a 0% chance, but I think he's probably got about a 15% chance in this. If I'm being honest with you, Tsitsipas against Aber, Tsitsipas to come through, then Tsitsipas versus Norrie, I'm going to say, and Tsitsipas to win against Norrie as well. Ruud Tsonga is a really good matchup as well, but Casper Ruud has been in such good form. I think you have to go Casper Ruud. Tsonga is not the player he once was. Exciting nonetheless, but for me, Ruud comes through. Taberner was qualified Taberner, Ruud to beat Taberner, so he makes the third round for me, Casper Ruud, and his form has been good, so I just don't see why he wouldn't be able to. He served phenomenally well against Opelka in Cincinnati in that matchup, outserved him. Yes, Opelka was tied, but some impressive performances from Ruud in the last couple of months. Bagnis Daniel, I'm going to go Bagnis. Gilles Simon against Davidovich Fokina. Now, this is one which actually you might look at it and say, I'm going to go with ADF, but I'm actually going to go Gilles Simon because I think he's more experienced. I think ADF is not super comfortable on the hard courts compared to the clay courts. And I think Gilles Simon's going to come through that. And I think he's going to make the third round. I think it's going to be him against Casper Ruud, and I think Casper Ruud will beat him. That's where I'm more looking and leaning towards. Then we've got John Isner versus Nakashima. That's a really tough draw for Nakashima. He must be thinking, what the heck? And I think John Isner is going to come through with that pretty comfortably. Qualified versus qualifier, so we have no idea who's going to... So let's just assume John Isner makes the third round. Vesely Anderson. Anderson to beat Vesely. I don't know, it's 50-50. Let's say Anderson. Schwartzman to beat Berankis for me. Schwartzman against Anderson is a tough matchup because of the big serving. Schwartzman could struggle, but I'm going to go Schwartzman. Then Isner to beat Schwartzman. No, I can't see Schwartzman getting past Isner. I think Isner's going to be too good serving-wise, and his overall game has been much improved this year, and he's definitely in a purple patch this year. Dimitrov versus Rafis. I think Dimitrov, Popyrin, Albert Popyrin for me. Dimitrov Popyrin is a good matchup, and it could go either way, if I'm being honest with you, because I think Popyrin's got very good ability, but I'm going to go Dimitrov. Giron qualify, so Montero versus Evans. Ooh. Well, I'm going to go Evans versus Giron. So in the second round. Evans come through because I'm just going to be really optimistic. And then Dimitrov Evans, and that he could potentially win that Evans. I don't see why not. Dimitrov hasn't been in phenomenal form, but I'm going to back my... I think he's not my boy. It's Alex's boy. One of my subscribers is Dimitrov. I think Dimitrov will beat. Yeah, I think Dimitrov will beat. Will beat him. We'll beat him. Right. So Cilic Kohlschreiber, blast from the past, eh? Kohlschreiber, Cilic to beat Kohlschreiber. Andahar, let's say he comes through. Cilic to beat Andahar. Kupfer qualifier. Okay. Oh, you know what? That's not an easy draw for Medvedev. Gasquet in the first round is not easy. It's only easy if your name's Roger Federer because he's got such a good record against Gasquet. What's the head-to-head? Let's have a look. What's the head-to-head between Medvedev and Gasquet? Because I'll tell you what, that's a horrible first round. Unless maybe the matchup is. Let's have a look. Yeah, see, it's 1-1. So they've only played each other twice. I don't know, man. You think Medvedev will have too much, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I know it sounds crazy to think about, but I can see Gasquet giving him trouble at least. But I think Medvedev will come through. Medvedev cut for the Medvedev Cilic in the third round. That's a potential banana skin, so that will be interesting. Right, shall we look at the path to the title? So first of all, thank you very much to Stephen from the Slice, because these are actually his images and I'm just borrowing them. So thank you for that. And do go check out his channel, of course, if you haven't already. Right, so let's look through Medvedev's today. Well, right now even. So Gasquet in the first round, which is an easy one. Kepfer, which I said as well. Cilic in the third round, which I said as well. Round 4 will either be Dimitrov, TFO, or Evans. I mean, okay. Rude, Isner, Schwartzman in the quarterfinals, which is not. Well, it's not bad. Semi-finals: Tsitsipas, Rublev, FA or RBA. It's not going to be RBA. Might be Tsitsipas, Rublev, or FA. Okay, and then Djokovic, Zverev, or Berrettini in the final. Okay, not horrific. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, although I say it's not horrific, that's not great though, is it? Because Casper Ruud is in form, so is Isner. Round 4 is not terrible because, I mean, unless he faces TFO, but I feel like his playstyle suits playing against TFO. But Cilic cut for Gasquet. The first 2 rounds are not easy. Kept for fine, but Gasquet, Cilic, I feel like it's not easy. Should get through them. Like, you know, these guys are veterans who, yeah, like, they're not in fantastic form, but I don't know. Right, okay. Let's go on to Zverev then, because I'm interested to see how what Zverev has as well. Query in the first round, as we said, Pui, oh, mate, he has got a much easier run. It's so funny, right? Because people always say that he has an easy draw, and he's got an easier draw here. He does. He does. Quite substantially up until the quarterfinals, I would say. Because he should beat Query, he should beat Puyo Ramos Venelas, Bublik Nishirko Sok, yeah, come through that. Sinner Monfils, okay, he might have some issues there, but Monfils he should beat. Sinner on a hard court, I mean, I know he won Washington, but I just feel like, no, I feel like he beats them. But this is where it gets interesting now. PCB, Khachanov or Shapo. Now, he could run into problems here. PCB's a good player, very, very good recently. I'd actually think that he would have more issues with PCB than Shapo or Khachanov, given the current form. But if Shapo's turned on, then you know that. But Khachanov, I don't think he'll have an issue with. He destroyed him in the final of the Olympics, and I just think Khachanov is a bit underpowered. So Shapo or Buster, then maybe. Djokovic, Berrettini, obviously in the semi-finals, so that's Berrettini. I don't think I think he beat Berrettini. Djokovic, though, obviously, you know, he's the underdog there. And then Tsitsipas on Medvedev in the final. So, yeah, I reckon quarterfinals onwards. But I think for me, Medvedev has a harder road to the title, if I'm being honest with you. Then if we go into Tsitsipas and his part of the title. So, okay, round 1, Murray, which is a very hard first round, if I'm being honest with you. He will be also be looking at that thinking, what? But then, to be honest with you, after that, it's not terrible. He's got Herbert and Manarino. Okay. But that should be fine. Norrie Alcaraz, he should come through that as well. Umber and Garin. I'd expect him to also come through that. Umber is not an easy one, but I would expect him to come through it. Rublev, FA, Kyrgios, RBA. I mean, RBA is not going to be in there, so let's just say Rublev, FA, or Kyrgios. But I mean, Kyrgios making a quarterfinal is just so unrealistic because of his lack of tennis and stamina. But let's just say it's Rublev, FA, or Kyrgios. He'll probably beat Rublev. FA will probably beat as well. Kyrgios, if Kyrgios is fit, firing, then maybe. But even then, I think he comes through it. Tsitsipas has got a pretty easy one as well, if I'm being honest. I think him and Medvedev, they've got the easier runs. Him and Zverev have got the easier runs. Medvedev and Rude in the semi-finals. I mean, Medvedev is going to... I really want to see that. I've got to see it. Please, Tsitsipas Medvedev semi-final. Make it happen. And then final, obviously, Djokovic, Berrettini, or Zverev. I mean, I can't see Berrettini making the final, if I'm being honest with you. But you never know. And then we'll look, of course, at the favourite, which is Novak Djokovic. This is a pretty easy... I don't understand. Am I just saying this because there's no team, there's no Nadal, there's no Federer? Maybe, but... So the qualifier, Greifswald, Struff, Goffin, mate, those first 3 rounds are gimmies. 4th round is a gimme as well. Karatsev has got a good play style to play against Djokovic, but that's only when he's on form. And Dimano, he'll destroy. I'm just saying how it is. First 4 rounds, easy peasy for him, to be honest with you. He makes the quarters almost instantly. Berrettini had catch. Berrettini has less of a chance on these hard courts. They're slower than the grass courts at Wimbledon. Her catch, just not quite good enough, to be honest with you. I don't foresee him having any issues until the semi-finals. Zverev, Shapovalov, yeah, we could have issues with the Medvedev. I don't think it's going to be real. Medvedev or Tsitsipas. Honestly, let's have a quick look. Medvedev has got a damn hard one, I reckon. I think Medvedev, like from round 3 onwards, he could have issues. Like from round 3 onwards, like fine, okay, maybe not round 4, but round 3, then quarters he could, semis he could, finals he could. I mean, Isner, I know, like he nullified him, so fine. Casper Ruud, I mean, he should beat these guys, but I just feel like it's a harder run than Djokovic is. Is it? Yeah, it is. I think it is. Is it? Yeah. No, I think it is. Oh, bless me. And then Zverev, as I was saying, it's easy. Yeah. I don't know, man. Am I just being too harsh on these guys? I was looking at it. Maybe I need to look more at the first few rounds. I just think the first few rounds for Djokovic are just easy. Just look at this. Look at this. I mean, qualified Greifswald, Struff, Goffin. The quarters, I mean, he could have issues with, I guess. So let's just say the quarters for him. For Tsitsipas, it's round 4 potentially. Umber could be an issue. For Zverev, not until... I can't foresee him having issues in round 5. I'm going to say quarterfinals, but let's say round 4 as well. And then for Medvedev, I think it's as early as round 1, really, but let's say round 3. Yeah, I mean, I think potentially Djokovic and Zverev have the easier path to the title, but who knows, man. The thing is, these are all hypotheticals, right? That's the thing. So it's difficult, but thing is, Zverev or Shapovalov in the semi-finals, and then let's say Medvedev, Rublev, or Tsitsipas in the final. I'm very intrigued, actually, to know what happens in the first few rounds. I just feel like, realistically, if anyone wanted a chance of beating Djokovic, or if anyone thought there'd be a chance of Djokovic not winning it, he'd need to get like a Kyrgios in the first round. And then you just basically, if you're that guy, which I'm not, but if you were that guy who really wants Djokovic not to win, and you're thinking, yeah, I want him to lose, basically, which again, like, I'm not that person, because why would I think that? Like, I don't really care. I'm happy whoever plays the best tennis wins. You then want Kyrgios to potentially draw him in the first round, potentially knock him out in a huge upset, and that's kind of you. Or you could get someone in the second or third round, but past then, these first 3 rounds, he's warmed up, and then he's coming after the rest, to be honest with you. Right, okay. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are also on Patreon. Do check us out. Links in the description and also for the description of the channel. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and also Twitch. We're on there as well, and Instagram. And of course, remember to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I do appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next video. Live streams coming, of course, and the women's as well. Thank you very much.